What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, a podcast where we talk about comic books, movies, TV shows, and in general pop culture. I am Matt. With me, as always, is Lauren, who I am holding up from watching the first 3 episodes of The Boys because they have just released early on this fine Thursday evening when we're recording. Already out, of course, when you're listening to this. First things first, please, by all means, go to hopsnews.beer. That is where you can find all of our episodes, all of our articles. Lauren has been pumping out some really great articles as of late in regards to Disney and just some really great content in general. Go to TikTok, Hops Geek News, Twitter, Instagram, Hops Geek News. That is where you can find us in our general day-to-day buffoonery. And if you don't want to go to hopsnews.beer to find our episodes and our merch, go ahead, go to hopsgeeknews.threadless.com, or you can also search Hops News on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. Today, we are going to be talking about a few things. We're going to kind of talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi and that TV show. We're going to talk about Stranger Things Season 4, Part 1 a little bit. And then, of course, we are going to give you a good little rundown of Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, because this week we are just so blessed with content as nerds that Miss Marvel is dropping on the 8th, and I couldn't be more excited. So, without further ado, let's talk about what we're drinking. And I am drinking from Deciduous Brewing Company, Frubalis, which is a heavily fruited sour ale with sweet cherry, peach, apricot, and kiwi. And good Heavenly Father, it's like I blended up a smoothie because I'm geriatric and poured it in a glass. It is thick with about 6 C's, and it is crazy. It's very soury. It's very fruity, but man, this is probably the thickest beer that I've ever had. Like I don't know if I'm going to put this on YouTube. I almost want to, just because of this glass and like how thick this is. But Deciduous comes from Newmarket, New Hampshire, which is one of my old stomping grounds. I got this from a friend of mine out there. They're a really good brewery. And yeah, that's about that. Lauren, what are you drinking?
So I am drinking a staple from Tripping Animals in Doral, Florida, which is just outside of Miami. It's actually right by the airport. It's called Everhaze, and it's an IPA with cashmere, citra, and amarillo. It's a great go-to, and like if you're in like the Orlando area and you want to try this, because like somebody hit me up that listens to our podcast and was like, "Hey, I'm going to Universal, but I can't go to breweries. What are good things I can get at Total Wine?"
Oh,
and I
had
said
that
Everhaze.
Here, yeah.
So this is one that you can usually find at even a Total Wine. My husband actually was able to swing by there this weekend and actually picked up a bunch of Tripping Animals. But the reason I picked it for tonight's episode is there is an alligator on it, which only Matt can see that. But
yeah, we've had that beer on the show before.
Yes, we have. I actually sent this one to all of you because it's their go-to IPA.
It's good.
So this is going to be a quick tidbit on Miss Marvel before we go into Miss Marvel. But one of the villains she fights is called the Inventor. And at one point, Kamala went into the sewers to investigate strange noises where she came face to face with the Inventor. And he created some genetically modified alligators, which he sent to attack Miss Marvel. But luckily, she was saved by Wolverine.
Wolverine.
You know, that just makes me think of E.T. Alligators in the sewer. That's what I'm drinking.
I don't remember that
it's
at all,
delicious.
to be honest.
You don't remember that when the kids are fighting at the very beginning of the movie and they talk about alligators in the sewer, and then Drew Barrymore, who's like 4, is like, alligators in the sewer.
It's been a long time since I've seen E.T. I'm going to be honest with you.
Do a rewatch. E.T. is such a good movie. Maybe. Especially rewatching it as an adult, because you don't realize when you're a kid that E.T.'s drunk.
I know. Well, that's fair. And E.T., fun fact, shows up, his species shows up in Star Wars, the prequels.
Yes. Yep. I think, I drank the one beer like that.
We have concluded our Star Wars month.
As well. Dun, dun, dun.
We have concluded our Star Wars month, so we're on a good thing.
Will we ever actually conclude it, though?
No, there's so much to talk about, and we're going to talk about it in a minute.
Obi-Wan.
We are going to talk about Obi-Wan in just a second. So, Lauren, you have something that you messed up on. I think we should just skip this and forget about it, but I'll let you go ahead and speak.
So last
Wow,
week, Matt was giving
that
me
sounds
shit.
so misogynistic of me. Hold on. First and foremost, I'm like, I'll go ahead and let you speak. Like, that just sounds awful. I'm
Well,
sorry. I
thank
did
you,
not
sir.
mean it. We're being canceled on the show today because I'm just coming off.
So last week we were talking about Mando and Boba Fett, and I had a fun fact about the X-wing that you can find in Galaxy's Edge is actually was designed for Galaxy's Edge, but it makes a cameo in Mandalorian. And I couldn't find a picture on my phone, and I texted to Matt, and he's like, haha, I have a picture on my phone. Well, after I went through my phone again, I found one from September 2020, so I did have it on my phone.
God.
I even looked at the date to make sure it wasn't the picture you sent me, but yeah, it was September 2020. It was the first time I had gone to Hollywood Studios post-COVID.
That's really
interesting time. It was insane though, walking into Galaxy's Edge and seeing like nobody buy the Millennium Falcon. I mean, granted, we had masks on in 95-degree weather, and they yelled at you if you took them off for a second if you weren't by yourself eating.
Oh, they were yelling at Harper was 3 at the time. They were yelling at her like the second she didn't have a mask like above her nose. My God,
Yeah, they were
you
messing
thought that she was
around
out there
then.
kicking puppies.
Yeah, now I'm fairly certain that's where I got COVID 3 weeks ago
probably.
or 4 weeks ago.
Whatever. Nothing matters, so whatever.
No, there's no restrictions anymore. You don't even have to have masks on the monorails anymore.
We defeated it.
Honestly,
we did it.
You leave the house now, and you're taking the risk. And yeah,
well, look, we got monkeypox. Okay, we're on the monkeypox.
God, I don't want monkeypox. What even is monkeypox?
I don't have any. I think it's when we all turn into Planet of the Apes, and then Mark Wahlberg saves us. I remember seeing a meme. Somebody was out there having sex with a monkey, and now we have monkeypox, and now we're going to be living under Caesar's rule out there.
Oh gosh!
In James Franco's Matt
They're
Reeves,
gonna have our kids in
Planet
cages
of the
as
Apes,
pets.
and help us, Mark Wahlberg. You're our only hope.
I remember seeing a meme in 2020 that's like, if you don't think one person can change the world, talk to the guy who ate the bat.
No kidding. I hope it was a good bat at least. I hope you got your fill. Anyways,
all right.
Speaking of bats, freaking bats, let's talk about what we read or watched this week. First things first, let's talk about the things that we did that aren't Stranger Things or Obi-Wan. So I finished up season 4 of The Circle, and yeah, it was cool, I guess. Just a run of the mill, shut your brain off, watch kind of reality show. What did you do that wasn't related to the 2 subjects we're about to talk about?
So yeah, I only watched Obi-Wan and Stranger Things, but I did get to go on Cosmic Rewind at Hollywood Studios. If you've listened to our first few episodes, I did wait like an hour to get the pass holder preview, found out I had COVID for the first time 2 days before. Obviously, I wasn't going to go then. That would be really selfish and terrible. But I did actually get to go, and I didn't think we were going to get to go on it. And I was unreasonably nervous. Like, talk about first world problems to like the extreme, because how Disney does it now for these new rides is they have a virtual queue. And if anybody's going to Disney and wants tips on how I got it, because you have to try at 7 a.m. So, and you have to have a park reservation. So you go onto the app, you take the Wi-Fi off your phone. You don't want to be on Wi-Fi. You pick your party before 7 a.m. And then at 7 a.m. you click you try to refresh the page and see if you can get on the ride. No joke, at 7 a.m. Like, my phone still said 7 a.m. It was sold out at 7 a.m.
I feel that for Rise of the Resistance when I tried.
Yeah. So you can try again at 1 p.m., but you have to be in the park. So we got the kids together. We got to the park at 1, and I was like shaking. I was so nervous. And this is so stupid because it's such a silly thing. But like, I didn't get to go on Rise of the Resistance until it had been out for months. And usually that's what we do. We just wait because it's busy. And, if you're staying in a hotel, you have priority. You can buy fast passes now. I don't really know how that works. And, that's actually, that's a disaster. So here's your tips. If you're in the park, 1 o'clock is usually easier to get in my experience. You pick your party, you take it off the Wi-Fi where you're in the park, and then you pull it down. You're going to need to look at like an Apple Watch or somebody else's phone. And 5 seconds before it hits 1 p.m., you pull it down to refresh. And the second it hits 1 p.m., you let go. Maybe even just before, actually 1 second before 1 p.m., you let go. So it refreshes the second it hits 1 p.m. And that's how we got on the virtual queue.
Man,
and then what it does is it puts you in a boarding group, and you check the app to see when you come back. Like it'll tell you approximately 300-minute wait. You're not actually waiting in the line. You go and do whatever you want to do for that time, but you keep checking the app. And by the time this episode drops, I will have a TikTok about the virtual line, the queue to get on the ride, but no spoilers for the ride. And I will also have a TikTok on the gift shop with all the super cool merchandise. I'll give spoiler warnings if you don't want spoiler warnings on that stuff. But a fair warning, though. So I thought the ride was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. It's definitely a new kind of ride, but my mom was nauseous for hours. Like had to sit down,
really?
Get the first aid over. Like we didn't even get to go through the gift shop that day. Like I went back to Epcot yesterday, and that's when I got to go through the gift shop. So like I wanted to get the like day of pass holder t-shirts, and they're gone. We didn't get to go, but
wow,
she was not the only one. This was I read an article
like
about it.
Is it like a roller coaster or?
So it's an indoor roller coaster, and it's on like a track. Like some people compared it to Space Mountain because it's dark inside because you're in space. But in addition to being on the track, it does spin as well.
Wow, I can see that. How that would be.
So yeah, she was rough.
Interesting.
My son, when we were at Epcot yesterday, he goes, I do not want grandma to go on that ride because then I can't go to her house and have a sleepover. He was not concerned for her. He was concerned for his own selfish needs.
The man has priorities. You got to respect it.
That he does. But Cosmic Rewind was fantastic. The merchandise is fantastic. It's just so exciting to see Marvel at Disney World because it's something I never thought I would see. And I said to my daughter, I'm like, remember when we were really excited because the monorail had the Avengers on it? And I like have a picture of her in front of the monorail going by, and that was 2012. And that was the first thing we ever saw at Disney World. It's
so weird how all of that plays out, right? Like who owns what? Marvel owns certain, like the Marvel or Disney has like the movies, but they don't have like the rights. I'm going to look into that one day. That could be a fun episode. We should do an episode because I briefly touched on it and actually was looking into this really recently as to who owns what. It's really fascinating how it's all broken up. So
might be fun to do during She-Hulk. Like we'll do an episode about She-Hulk and then break down the laws of who owns what and why we can't have nice things in Florida.
I think we're having to do that. We'll have to do that. So which do you want to discuss first? Obi-Wan or Stranger Things?
Let's do Obi-Wan first.
All right. So if you haven't, I have been joining Sean at Metalcore Nerds to discuss the breakdowns for Obi-Wan Kenobi. So go ahead and check that out. We're on Adobe Radio and anywhere you can find Metalcore Nerds on podcasting platforms. That said, Lauren and I
loved listening. I just want to say real quick, I loved listening to that with you two because you were both way more knowledgeable about Star Wars than me. So you guys pointed out things and details that I didn't pick up. So I thought that was really cool. I didn't realize like that toy was Luke's toy in A New Hope.
Yes. So it's really fun. I love chatting with Sean. Sean and I, like kindred spirits almost. You're not being replaced. Don't worry. I promise you. For now. But on a serious note, though,
fine, I'm just gonna go find Chris with Geek again. We're gonna do the rest of Dexter.
We both just split off and we cheat on each other with different podcasts. But
it meant nothing.
I promise you, it didn't mean anything. Just kidding. Hit me up later, Sean. But Obi-Wan, we haven't discussed as a unit what we thought about Obi-Wan. So by the time you're listening to this, the first 3 episodes are out, and a lot of people are complaining. There's a lot of complaints because a lot of people are like, oh, the sets are weaker. Oh, the girl who plays Leia, she isn't this Academy Award winning actress already at the age of 10.
And amazing.
Right.
And she's exactly what Leia would be at 10.
Also, people are complaining like the action's lacking. So let's get this straight. Kenobi is a TV show that takes place 10 years after the fall of the Jedi. Kenobi has been living on Tatooine, buried the lightsaber, shut off from the Force for 10 years. He's not the man we saw in the prequels. He's not the man we saw in A New Hope. He's in between. He's wrecked. Satine has died. His mentor, Qui-Gon, has been killed. The Jedi, the only thing that he has ever known in life, have been taken away from him by the person he calls his brother. And so, yeah, there's a reason that he's not the man that we saw. And I personally feel like, yeah, the sets, they're kind of subpar, but it's not a movie. This is a TV show for 6 episodes. You're not going to get the movie kind of budget. I thought Ewan McGregor's acting was fantastic. Like when Reva came in and she was like, "Oh, you didn't know Vader lived," and all that, like PTSD portrayed so well on screen. This latest episode, spoiler alert, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in that scene, it seemed like he's had a hard time living with the fact that he killed his best friend, his brother, his protege. And then in that moment, it like switched. It's like now he has to live with the fact that he didn't.
He didn't kill him. And this is the moment I have been waiting for 17 years. And actually longer than that. Ever since I first saw the original trilogy, I was like, I need the moment that Obi-Wan Kenobi found out that Vader was still alive. Ever since I got into the lore.
Get that's not common knowledge because it's common knowledge to us.
Only a few people know that Anakin was Darth Vader. Tarkin figured it out. Thrawn figured it out. Palpatine knew. Kenobi knew.
Obviously, Palpatine knew.
Right. It wasn't common knowledge to the galaxy. They didn't know. Everyone thought Anakin Skywalker died. Yeah, they thought he died in the Clone Wars.
Comics, they have that group that's like out to avenge Padme and Anakin.
Yes. Oh, I'm so proud of you right now that you know that. I'm so proud of you. Look at you. I am so proud of you right now.
I need to get the third trade back.
6 months ago, you wouldn't have known this.
No, I wouldn't have.
I am so proud of you right now. But yes, you're right. So the current Vader run.
Second time you said that to me this week.
I'm so proud. Like the current right now, the current run of Vader by Marvel, the comic books, which cannot recommend enough. It's him in the early issues. He was looking to figure out what happened to Padme, and he goes to Naboo, and there's this group of people that are protecting her grave and all of that, and are attacking Vader. Obviously, he deals with them as he does, but he didn't know what happened. So he found out that Padme died and kind of that kind of thing. So he's really torn. And what Disney's doing right now, especially in episode 3, they show him dragging Kenobi through the fire, snapping kids' necks. We're getting brutal Vader. He is
How cool was it when he started the fire with his lightsaber?
Oh, I popped hard. Like, let's back it up first to begin this episode.
That was amazing.
Can we talk about how beautiful it was when with a suiting up montage of Vader suiting up? That was amazing. And then how many people do you know in cinema or TV shows that you can just get goosebumps from hearing them breathe?
Well, and it's James Earl Jones. I mean, you can't do it without him, man.
Oh, so fun fact about this. It is James Earl Jones. However, he was never in studio. It is all AI recreated.
Are you kidding?
It was never James Earl Jones in studio. They recreated his voice through AI capabilities, which is how his voice sounded as good as it did. Because in Rogue One, if you remember, it sounded kind of off. And now in this show, it sounds perfect.
Wow.
That's because it's AI recreated.
In my head, I hear Hayden and James Earl Jones, but I think that's just my own craziness. Like I'm looking for it. That's insane. Yeah. Did he not want to come in, or does he still get paid for his likeness? I mean,
he's so old that they probably they credit him. So I'm sure he gets paid still. But yeah, he was never in studio. But Hayden is the one that's in the suit. In episode 3, we get a flashback of Hayden in Jedi robes that, Obi-Wan kind of has that flashback to. Mm-hmm. And so it's super interesting, and it's amazing getting to see Darth Vader at his peak being so absolutely brutal. And like you said, he starts up that fire with his lightsaber and then just drags Obi-Wan through it. Like,
well, he's doing to him what he feels was done to him.
And he's like, again, though, like, he's like, I am what you made me. I got the high
ground now, bitch. That would have been good.
Well, that line of, I am what you made me, you should have killed me. It's like, okay, to a degree, yes, but you kind of brought this upon yourself first and foremost.
Did he say you should have killed me? I remember him saying, I am what you made me.
Yes, he says you should have killed me when you had the chance, basically.
So he's still struggling with the fact that he's gone dark side, which obviously we see that in the comics. And we see that in the original trilogy.
After that droid saves Obi-Wan and takes him away, Number one, do you think that droid is like somebody in a suit? Like
In real
there's
life,
more
yes.
to that, like in the show, like there's somebody dressed up like that droid pretending, or you think the droid's
Like,
just that dumb or however?
I think the droid's just been programmed. I mean, we've seen many
Okay.
a droid that are, willing, like look at Solo, that weird
That's true.
relationship.
K2SO.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So, I
My
don't think so.
next question then. Vader could have easily have destroyed that droid and continued to torture Kenobi. Do you think he was conflicted in that moment by what he was doing to his old brother?
I think he's constantly conflicted in what he's doing. And if he can sense Obi-Wan, he's got to sense Leia, even if he doesn't know what that is that he's sensing. So I also don't think he necessarily wants to kill him. I think he wants more information from him.
Fully agree. I think he was conflicted. So I think that
Somebody just hand you beer?
yes. So Carrie just came back and she handed me Woodland Empire's latest release, Youth of America mixtape IPA with
that's awesome.
Joe Boblazzo's artwork on it. It is brewed with Trident, Solera, Mosaic, and Galaxy. Again, a mixtape IPA series coming at 6.7 ABV. You know you're getting one of these. And the artwork is super cool. It's like it's almost like an alien. They're green with their glasses pulled down and their eyes are smoking. So such cool artwork. She hooked me up. She knew I had a rough day, so I appreciate her hooking me up with some beer that I've been wanting to get for a while now. And but yeah, anyways, awesome. I do think that Vader is definitely conflicted because I don't think he's quite yet to the point where he's can be redeemed, because as you see, he's walking through the town. He snaps a kid's neck. He's just killing people left and right. And then I thought it was really cool that the Inquisitors were just fighting over each other of who gets the Grand Inquisitor seat. But if you've watched Star Wars Rebels, then you know the Grand Inquisitor is alive. So I'm confused.
Yeah, because Rebels does take place after this, huh? Because it leads right into Rogue One.
Yeah, so Rebels takes place after Kenobi, and in Rebels, the Grand Inquisitor dies in Rebels. So I'm confused, but maybe we'll get clarification. Maybe he's still alive. I don't know.
Well, I mean, Darth Maul was cut in half and he survived.
Again, so. You're totally right.
It was a force projection because they are force sensitive.
It's true. His species does have two stomachs. He has an evil twin. Maybe he was only stabbed through one stomach.
Ah, I did not know that. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So it's the stomach version of a Time Lord.
Maybe. So
gotcha.
Do you have any other thoughts before we go to Stranger Things?
I'm absolutely loving this. I think they're doing a great job of connecting the original trilogy with the prequels. And I think they're doing it beautifully. Ewan McGregor is killing it. I think they're all killing it. I can't wait to hear Reva's backstory when we get to that.
I feel like she's not a full-fledged bad guy. I'm getting the feeling she's working her own angle here.
And in listening, I don't want to say too much of what you guys said, because I definitely think people should go check out the Metal Corners with you and Sean. I think that she has a vendetta against Vader and Obi-Wan. That's my theory. I think that she sees how both of them fucked up and they caused the Republic to turn into the Empire, whether it was Obi-Wan not saving her as a child or, Vader just going full on dark side and Obi-Wan not being able to stop him. I think she probably sees a collaboration of the two of them ruining their childhood or her childhood. And how much did you love hearing Obi-Wan talk about how he was taken from his parents at a young age, even though the Jedi are the good guys. And he has a brother out there. Is his brother force sensitive? Whatever happened with that? And I would love to see Satine's son show up and be force sensitive because he's related to Obi-Wan.
I don't know that they had a kid, but that can always be retconned. And
she had a kid.
She did. So I'm wonder. I don't know.
And we still don't know where that kid is, despite the fact that Bo-Katan was not only in Rebels to the end and in Mandalorian. Where's her nephew?
That's true. He is alive. I will say that it was heartbreaking when Leia was like, "Are you my dad?" And he was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
no.
And his answer was genuine.
She's doing a great job for being 10 years old. Like, I think she's doing a great job and all the callbacks and nods to the original trilogy. Like,
and when they looked at her and he's like, you remind me of somebody. Oh, I got emotional.
yeah, it's
there.
just, you got a bunch of these 45-year-old mouth breathing nerds who are just upset at everything and anything and are like, she sucks and this show sucks. And it's like, come on, man.
So this is fun. This is supposed to be fun, guys.
Yeah, like just
enjoy
the ride. Enjoy the ride. The show is great. Yeah, there's issues with it. I take issues with some things, but I've been waiting for this for 17 years, so maybe I got some glasses on, rose tinted glasses.
Here's what I say. Enjoy the first one, love it, live it, and then go back later and tear it apart.
That's fair.
I think eventually I'll do another rewatch after there's a bunch of more in chronological order. And yeah.
That's a good point. So let's move into Stranger Things. Season 4. We both just watched season 4. And
part one.
So part 2 airs July 1st with an hour and a half, episode 8, and a 2 hour and 30-minute episode 9 before we wrap that up and we get a series finale, season 5. So this season kind of has everybody all over the place. So Will, Elle, and Joyce and Jonathan are out in California. Mike and crew are still in Hawkins. And then Hopper was taken and he's held prisoner in Russia, as we found out through like a teaser video like 2 years ago now, it feels like. But
he was at the end of it. He was in the
right.
The prison,
that's right. So we're getting that. And what I thought this season was my favorite season of Stranger Things personally, because not too often do you get a show that the longer it goes on, the better the character development gets. But what this show is doing for character development for Steve, for Mike, for even introducing new characters like Robin and Eddie, like they're doing some really cool things.
Yeah, we only got hints of Robin in 3. We didn't really get to know her.
She was around a little bit.
She was just there for comedic relief.
Well, right. And I kind of like got a little confused because she was in Fear Street in the beginning of one of the episodes. So I was like remembering bits of Fear Street because Max was also in Fear Street. And so I was kind of remembering bits and pieces of both things. But yeah, I mean, look, can we talk about the glow up that Lucas had? Like Lucas is a full on man now. The dude was Lucas. He grew up the most out of any of the
okay. I had to
kids.
think about at first I was thinking Dusty.
Yeah. So Dusty is him and Steve are like my favorite character relationships. Lucas in this season, he's on the basketball team. At the beginning
though, I was like, I'm not sure about Lucas anymore. And then he came back around.
Right. Because, yeah, like I said, he's on the basketball team now and he aligns himself with the jocks and things of that nature. So
I say, so at the very beginning, the girl Chrissy totally just thought she was pregnant and carrying like a demon spawn.
Oh, see, I didn't even think that at all.
Anytime they have a girl throwing up in a TV show, she's usually pregnant.
Okay, I will say that, yes, we did think that she was pregnant. I didn't expect the demon angle. Yeah. So that was good. She got brutal. Like the murders were brutal. What this season does is they really lean into the horror elements and they lean into like it's a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street vibes in this series or this season, I should say, which is really cool because Nightmare on Elm Street is one of my favorite horror films. But the horror is dialed up to like a 9 or a 10 in this season.
Yeah. What I've loved the most about this season is that they've taken essentially 4 different stories, kept them completely separate. Like nobody has contact with anybody, and they've intertwined them so well for the audience. And like that last episode, like I did not see that coming at all. Like I was like, how are these? It's like you get an idea of how they're connected, but you really don't know what's going on yet. So they did a great job of that. And I love that they cheat with the lack of cell phones with the walkie-talkies, which they do in all the seasons.
I love the walkie-talkies, yes.
But I just think that's so funny.
Well, I had a feeling. So number one, so the thing that bothered me was like Elle was bullied and she kind of spends this season kind of just like timid and crying a bunch. And not that she's crying, it's more of like she's just timid and like she's lost her powers, which I get. She's been bullied. She's been through a lot of trauma. So that's just me. If she'd had her
powers, she would have straight up like killed that girl.
That's true. And she hits that. She's bullied in school, but she's telling Mike that everything is fine when in fact it's not fine. And so Mike comes to visit. They're at the skating rink, and that girl Angela and them play a prank on her, and she gets they film it even. And
Ooh.
she gets the chocolate milkshake all over her. And then so she finally gets mad and just takes this roller skate and bashes her in the head. And can we talk about how poor policing it was? Because they arrested her without her mom around, talking to her parents at all. They were hauling her off to juvie like hundreds of miles away without the mom even knowing, Joyce knowing. It's like, what?
Yeah. But I saw somewhere, I can't fact check this. I saw this on like a meme or something. So when they were filming, it said the date, like March 2nd or something like that.
22nd. Yeah, it was Will's birthday.
Yeah, it was Will's birthday. So yeah.
I do feel bad for Will because he was abducted and then kind of forgotten about.
Yes.
But at the same time, it worked kind of both ways because he was treating Elle he was letting her get bullied. He wasn't standing up for her.
Well, I don't think he has any ground to stand on, so he thinks.
Yeah, so he thinks, but still, like he was kind of like, I think at the same time he was jealous of Elle, so he was also letting that happen.
Yeah, he's definitely jealous of her and Mike. I think he's got a thing for Mike. But, I mean, he did try to stand up to her, but again, I feel like they're both the new kids. And he's such a cute kid. But that haircut, my God, I know they're going for 80s, but good Lord, that haircut is
bowl
terrible.
cut. We all had the bowl cut. Come on now.
I never had the bowl cut. But my husband did. I've seen pictures.
Yeah, see, I told you. We all had it.
He's like, my mom straight up put the bowl over my head and cut our hair.
We all had the bowl cut, man. So what do you think of Argyle, one of the new characters? How do you feel about Argyle?
Oh, dude, what shampoo and conditioner does he use?
Oh, amazing. So he's Native American.
God, he has
and
beautiful
his hair is amazing, right?
I loved him.
So
and he's
long
the only, like, even though he's like the pothead and like, dude, like how he responded to like the shooting, like that's a reasonable response.
Right. He's like this stoner pizza delivery kid, but he takes everything in stride. And then the whole bit with him and Eden was hilarious.
Like the garden.
Yeah. And then Eddie, like we've talked about, I thought Eddie was just going to be like some bum, whatever. But the way they found a way to weave him in, so he's the leader of their cult, aka their D&D group, Hellfire Club, and it's hilarious that they think that that's a satanic cult.
But those are real like articles that happen. And
yeah, that actually happened.
Remember we had Joe Blablazo on a while ago, and he talked about his podcast, Heretic Podcast. Definitely go check that out. They talk about stuff with religion, and he said that when he was like in church, or one of them said like they were saying like Dungeons and Dragons is demon worshipping crap.
Yeah.
And what's funny though is then when they bring it up, the cop who's from Luke Cage is like rolling his eyes at that thing. It's like you're doing these articles that are supposed to be serious, and then when somebody actually says it aloud, it gets their eyes, somebody rolls their eyes at it. Right.
Well, so because like, the jock teenager kid whose girlfriend was Chrissy and she died, like he riles up everybody, and he fully believes that they're this cult, and he sees his friend get killed on the lake even. But I thought that was going to
make him think Eddie was innocent, and then it just further made him think he was guilty.
It just further thought, yeah, he was guilty, and so that was a cool little twist. And I thought it was cool that every time Vecna, who they used in D&D, but it turns out is a real wizard demon too, is every time he kills, basically opens up a new gate, things like that. So that was a cool little bit. And I thought for sure Steve was a goner. Once he went to the Upside Down, was getting like bit by those bats in the Upside Down. I thought he was dead. A second
too. But they don't ever kill main characters.
Not yet.
They only kill cannon fodder. I think they will in the last
I think we're going to see some main characters start to die soon. I have a feeling.
But I mean, like Barb was introduced to be killed.
That's true.
What's her face's Max's brother was introduced to be killed.
There's gonna be a main character I think that dies, or sacrifices themselves or something. Oh yeah, in the last season.
See that sacrifice it, and I could see it being Steve.
Yeah, I could see it being Steve or Jonathan. I wouldn't mind if it's Nancy because she kind of bothers me a bit. But
I like Nancy.
I don't like Nancy at all.
I didn't like her at first. She's grown on me.
I love Dustin, Steve, and Eddie. I will protect my life. So
thinking cap.
Oh, that was amazing. I want that hat.
Ian, who we had on for Supernatural, he's like, I have something of Dustin's from every season. I need that thinking cap.
Yeah, that's so amazing. But I got to say, this season was easily my favorite. It sucked me back in.
Mm-hmm.
And
I agree.
I'm interested to see, do you think they finished the last 2 episodes of season 4 by wrapping up the Vecna storyline? So Vecna is number 1. He killed all the other kids. And so Elle faced off against him and sent him to the Upside Down. She opened up the initial gate to the Upside Down, and then he became Vecna. And so do you think they wrap up that storyline, or it's going to be finished in season 5?
I think they will wrap it up. And I think in season 5, it's going to be like officially closing it. I'm really not sure. But when Hopper makes the comment of, if, you know, they have a Demigorg here.
Oh, yeah.
That means it's not over. So I think that they want to try to make sure that all the portals are definitively
that makes sense.
sealed.
I was thinking that like they end on a cliffhanger and finish Vecna in season 5 and close all the portals at once.
They
That
usually
makes a
do
lot of
some
sense.
closure, though. I mean, we always get, I think.
We're getting closure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I think we'll definitely get some closure. I was kind of wondering if when they went into the Upside Down, when the 3 older kids did, because Hopper was about to go fight it. So I thought like maybe this is a portal, but it was just, they just captured one. And I thought like, I mean, granted he's in like Russia, but if they were able to like connect somehow in the Upside Down.
Speaking of Russia, I got to give a shout out to my boy Murray. Murray became kind of a fan favorite for me personally.
Which one's? Oh, Murray. Yeah.
Karate. Like the way he uses karate. I thought he was going to get beat up, but he actually used his karate. I actually really like Murray.
Yeah, they definitely utilized him better this season than last.
Yeah, they did. So what I like this season. How did you feel? How does it stack up compared to the other seasons for you?
It's definitely, I think, the best one. Granted, I did not do a rewatch before, where I know a lot of people, but even my friends who did said that the 4th has been the best. And I was getting yelled at by multiple people, not just you, to hurry up and finish this season.
Well, yeah, I drug my feet because I watched Kenobi first, and then I was like, all right, yeah, I'll start Stranger Things, whatever. I wasn't really vibing with it either because I was just like, whatever, Stranger Things, yeah, it's cool, but I'm not vibing.
Right, I like it, but it's not something I'm like
right.
I'm obviously very excited about The Boys. I was excited about Kenobi. Yeah.
I wasn't over the moon excited, but this season sucked me in, and I was like, I love this. I need to finish it all like right now, ASAP. It sucked me in completely, finally.
And we get the second part soon, which is nice because
July 1st.
A lot of them, I mean, and honestly, if they had played them week by week, that wouldn't even equal July 1st. But, like Walking Dead is like, part 2 is in 6 months. That's a separate season, assholes. And they did the same thing with Ozark.
It is.
So I was actually listening to Geek Peak earlier, and because they had done a beer review of Ozark.
Yep.
It's a really short episode, and they made it. I didn't realize this. So they released part 1, which it's on Netflix too, in like 2021, and then part 2 recently. And they had said it was because they wanted to get into award seasons.
Oh, that makes sense. Like the Emmy, everyone's working for like an Emmy and stuff like that.
Yeah. So if you're an Ozark fan, you should go check that one out. I had been meaning to check that one out for a while and finally watched it, but Ozark's a good one. If you ever get around to that, I definitely recommend.
Yeah.
If you ever have, what show should I watch next? You should watch Ozark.
I haven't watched Ozark at all yet, so maybe I will. I'll need to get around to that at some point.
It's a good one. I would say it's similar but very different to Breaking Bad, which you didn't watch either.
I couldn't get in Breaking Bad. I watched it. I just couldn't get into it.
Ozark is the serious version of Arrested Development. He's surrounded by people that he doesn't understand why they're doing what they're doing, but they're intelligent and they're dealing with drugs rather than money in the banana stand.
Banana stand is way better than drugs.
There's always money in...
You can launder drugs through the banana stand.
There's always money in the banana stand. It's just the money is in different places. And Jason Bateman looks around and is like, not saying what the fuck, but he's saying it in his head.
True. I just realized we haven't got to news yet. So let me run through some news real quick before we go into Ms. Marvel. So Kenobi, speaking of, is the most watched Disney Plus original series premiere globally to date, based on hours streamed in an opening weekend. Immediately following Kenobi's series premiere launch, Star Wars title viewership tripled in hours watched during the opening weekend. Netflix has decided they will stop greenlighting expensive vanity projects such as The Irishman This tendency to do anything to attract talent and give them carte blanche is going away, says one source. So basically, Netflix is saying they can't compete. They're giving up. And we kind of saw that writing on the wall because once Stranger Things is done, what do they have? Nothing really.
Yeah, I have no idea what they're going to do next. But they need to do something because people are leaving by the masses.
They are. And aside from that, Joe Quesada is leaving Marvel. He first started in 2002, has been working on Marvel Comics since then, and he's leaving it to kind of do some other projects, which is huge. Very rarely do you see somebody work with one production company in comics for so long. And he's been there over 20 years now. And so he's announced on his Twitter he will be leaving, and it's all good blood, all that kind of stuff. Now, Star Wars Celebration. There was a lot of news that came out of Star Wars Celebration. I'm going to kind of run down through it real quick. And starting with Skeleton Key, which is going to be a Skeleton Crew, which will be a Mandoverse show called, it's like Stranger Things, Mandoverse kind of things in space. Jude Law stars, and it's going to be a bunch of 10-year-olds basically trying to find their way back home, lost in the galaxy. We have got an Andor teaser trailer, so that comes out August 31st with 12 episodes and a 2-season premiere and 2 seasons leading into Rogue One. Mandalorian and Ahsoka, they leaked the trailers from those. Both will come out in 2023. Young Jedi Adventures, which is a preschool type animated show set in the High Republic era, featuring Yoda and the Younglings, which will come out in spring of 23. Tales of the Jedi, which is an animated show of 6 episodes, which will be basically Ahsoka and Dooku, which will be 3 episodes each, showing different moments in their lives. And a trailer in the first episode were actually shown during the panel, and it's going to feature a young Qui-Gon Jinn. Jedi Survivor, which will be the Jedi Fallen Order sequel, is getting greenlit, and it should launch in 2023. The trailer was dope. If you haven't played Fallen Order, please do it now. It is amazing. Knights of the Old Republic 2 will be re-released on Switch, with returning cut contents arriving June 8th. Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation is going to be in the vein of the 2 previous themed Lego specials set after Episode 9, release date August 5th, plus 2 Lego sets that were shown from Andor and Fallen Order, and a short released for the A New Hope anniversary. Yoda Comic, a Marvel 10-issue miniseries consisting of 3 arcs, first set in the High Republic era, written by Cavan Scott, starting in October. High Republic Phase 2, which is going to have like a novel, comics, novel names, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be coming out soon. Bad Batch Season 2 released a trailer, and it will release this fall. Visions Volume 2 will come out in spring of 23, with not only shorts from Japan, but some other countries as well, such as India, United Kingdom, Ireland, Spain, Chile, France, South Africa, and California. And then Taika Waititi's untitled Star Wars movie is slated for 2023, will be the next Star Wars film releasing. Moving on from that, we can expect a Black Adam trailer this week. This is per The Rock, so if The Rock says it's going to happen. Next, we've done our jobs. The hierarchy of the DC universe is about to change, or whatever he's been saying for 32 years. But we did it. We memed Morbius into a sequel. So we're getting a Morbius sequel. And tomorrow, which will be this past Friday to all of you, they re-released Morbius into 1,000 theaters. So make sure you go get morbed or something. So Iman Vellani, who you know as Miss Marvel, she's going to be playing Miss Marvel. She actually used to cosplay as Miss Marvel for Halloween, and people thought she was the Flash. So there are pictures going around of her a few years ago, in like 2015, cosplaying as Miss Marvel. And now she's playing Miss Marvel, which is pretty cool. So I think I'm going to start cosplaying as some Jedi, maybe some other things. And maybe one day I will be playing in a Star Wars show myself. Michael Keaton is confirmed as Batman and Batgirl. Christopher Landon has begun writing and directing the Arachnophobia remake. I'm stoked for that. I loved the original Arachnophobia with Jeff Daniels. Oh, it's
Didn't they
so
do
good.
one with Officer Dewey? Deputy Dewey?
No. You're thinking of another movie which name escapes me right now. With David Arquette. I know what you're talking about. I forget the name.
David Arquette.
I'm sure Sean, if he's listening, is going to correct me.
It wasn't Arachnophobia?
It was not Arachnophobia, no. But
Okay.
that remake's going to come out. And then Percy Jackson has begun filming. Virginia Cole will be Sally Jackson. Glenn Turman will be Chirion. Jason Mantzoukas will be Electo. Tim Sharp will be Gabe.
Eight-Legged Freaks.
Oh, that's what it was. Yes. Thank God we've saved ourselves. And then my last bit of news is that Horizon, which is a video game that I thoroughly love, will be getting a PlayStation VR game, which is called Into the Mountains. So I don't know when that will release. However, I'm excited because I love that video game. That franchise is super great. So if you haven't played Horizon, go check out Forbidden West and Zero Dawn.
Okay, I have a question for you. And actually, it's probably for you and Sean. As somebody who doesn't play video games other than Tetris on Game Boy, because that's the best. But like you guys talk about, what is it, Fallen Order that has the kid from Shameless?
Cal Kestis, yes.
Okay,
He's
and the
rumored to be
lightsaber.
making a live action appearance soon.
So is that video game considered canon then?
Yes, it is.
So for somebody who doesn't watch video games, can I go on YouTube and just watch the storyline?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
basically, Cal was a Jedi Padawan who made it through Order 66.
I saw this scene where he survived Order 66 in that clip you
Yes.
sent me of all the Order 66s happening at the same time, which
Yes.
they now need to redo
He
after
survives.
Obi-Wan.
And the video game is fantastic. So he survives. He met up with the crew, which one of the crew members is a former Jedi Knight herself. And so they're running from Inquisitors. There's Inquisitors involved. You kind of take on some of them. There's one Inquisitor named Trilla, and she's kind of badass, but I don't want to spoil it.
Okay.
But at the same time, I kind of do.
I will look for it on YouTube. I love that actor.
Yes.
He's phenomenal in Shameless, and he is really good in Gotham too, playing the Joker.
Yes.
So I've seen him play two very, very different characters. Like he plays like a manic, depressive, openly gay dude on Shameless, and like he kills it. And then he goes on Gotham and like has the cut off face on it. And I really liked Gotham until I got bored with it. But yeah, I would love to see him in live action. But yes, okay.
Yeah,
so I
he's
will do
rumored
that.
to be making an appearance as Cal Kestis as in live action. But you actually get a really badass version of Vader in this game. So play Fallen Order. Can't recommend
nice.
it enough. All of that said, yes, you can find YouTube kind of a rundown of what goes on. I actually saw a video that portrays the whole Vader sequence from this game. So if I can find it again, I'll send it to you. All of that said, let's run into our main topic. I know we're running a little late. Let's run into our main topic where we're going to give you a brief rundown of some backstory into Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel. Lauren, take us away.
So your brother told us about your Avengers party?
He did.
Yes. And even though it will be a distraction from your studies and there will be a lot of haram going on there, Kamala, we have decided to let you go.
Really.
Yes, but there are special conditions. Your Abbu will drive you there and he will go inside with you for 2 hours. And as far as your dressing goes, I have a surprise for you. The Hulk! Wait, best is yet to come. Ta-da!
I just the puppet!
See, Kamala, big Hulk and little Hulk, Bada Hulk or Choti Hulk. Huh? So cute you all will look. Oh my God.
So Miss Marvel first appeared in 2013. So this was actually post the first Avengers movie. And this was in Captain Marvel Volume 7. She was a civilian that was rescued by Captain Marvel during a Kree attack, which is obviously very similar to Kate Bishop in Hawkeye. But she ended up getting her own run in 2014. Kamal is actually Arabic for perfection. So she was created by Sana Amanet, Stephen Wacker, Gwendolyn Willow Wilson, Adrian Alfano, and Jamie McKelvey. I probably butchered all of those. So the story about how she was actually created is very inspiring as well. Sanaa Amanet grew up in New Jersey and is a Pakistani American Muslim who experiences prejudices growing up. Meanwhile, she was raised by a mother who told her, you should know yourself, but respect others who are different from you. And her father told her, always do good. So she took these personal experiences and put them into this character. And if you want to know more about this, you should check out episode 2 of 616 on Disney Plus. Her parents are on there and she's on there, and they're talking about the development of the character. She's also an executive producer on the new Disney Plus show.
Oh, that's awesome.
So you want to tell us about when Kamala was a teenager?
Yeah. So she, like we said, she's a Pakistani American teenager from New Jersey. She's the first Muslim to headline a Marvel book. Also, in these comic books, she's an Inhuman, obviously for sake of continuity and just adaptation. She's not going to be an Inhuman in the TV show. But
Spoilers.
If you've never read a comic about Inhumans and you skipped Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and we wouldn't blame you if you skipped Inhumans, they get their powers when they're exposed to Terrigen Mist. Doctor Strange, spoiler, Black Bolt was introduced as the one in charge of said mist, as he is an Inhuman himself. So pretty much if you have an Inhuman heritage, meaning your ancestors got it on with some aliens, bow, chicka, wow, wow, the Terrigen Mist can make your powers come out. Kamala was exposed. What?
Just real quick, she could be an Inhuman if they didn't pretend Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't happen. And now that we have been introduced to Black Bolt, even though he's not our universe, or do we have one and we're just... Okay, whatever. That's a whole other ball of wax.
Yeah.
Yes, I want Daisy. That's all I want.
That's fair.
Okay.
So she was exposed to this mist when she snuck out of her house, and Thanos and Black Bolt got into a fight, which resulted in the mist pretty much going everywhere. When this happened, she imagined an entire conversation with Captain Marvel about what Kamala might want to do with her life.
So Kamala grew up in a strict home where she was told what to do, hence her sneaking out and getting exposed to the Terrigen Mist. Once her grounding ended, she ended up springing into action and stopping a burglar at a convenience store. Then after getting shot, she learned that the mist also gave her healing powers. Before this all happened, she was a huge superhero fan in real life. Well, in fake real life. And she has vast knowledge of all the superheroes, and she is not afraid to tell all of them in the comics. Like, she will flat out be like, oh, I know this and that and da-da-da-da-da. Her favorite superhero, however, is Carol Danvers, who previously had the Miss Marvel mantle. Side note, Carol Danvers first appeared as Miss Marvel in 1968 in Marvel Superheroes number 13. She did not become Captain Marvel until 2012, and this was thanks to Kelly Sue DeConnick, who we mentioned back in March. She invented the lamp test, which is basically if your main female character can be replaced by a lamp and it doesn't hurt the story, you probably need to rethink your female character.
Yes. So back to Kamala. Her superpowers include, so she's an Inhuman, so she can polymorph. Elongation, which means she can stretch all of her body parts, much like Mr. Fantastic. Size alteration. Yes. She can become bigger or smaller. Quick healing. Her healing, although can hinder her actual powers because it makes her cells less elastic. So she can heal, but she won't really be able to do any other things that she's known for. She can completely change how she looks. She once impersonated Rhodey while talking to Tony. She also looked like Captain Marvel at one point when she first got her powers. When she uses her powers, she glows like bioluminescence, kind of, and also electromagnetic pulses are her kryptonite. Very interesting. Her gadgets include a locator pendant. It was basically like the beeper that Carol gave to Nick Fury. It was a gift to Kamala from Captain Marvel.
Beeper in the late 90s, just saying.
Oof. We were actually talking about beepers last night, but she could push this and Captain Marvel would show up. However, she ditched it after they had a falling out. Oh man, never meet your heroes, kids. A compartment bracelet, which is a set of bangles that her great-grandmother used to smuggle money out of Bombay. Kamala used it to hold her phone. biokinetic polymer suit. So while the suit doesn't work well in water, it does stretch with her as it's needed to, and she can't maintain her outfit via her powers. So why don't you go ahead and give us her aliases?
So she has lots of aliases, like all of them do. Mystic Marvel, Magnificent Miss Marvel, Bendy Girl, which also made me think of Ralph Dibny, Destined One, Geon Girl, Sword of Sappha, Shield to a Million Children, and Sloth Baby. We'll go into that in a minute, but Sloth Baby is basically her fan fiction pen name. So her best friend is also like her guy in the chair, and we're going to talk about Bruno. Bruno Carelli is a genius who designed her suit, and he is the only real person who knows her secret identity. He also helps her keep her superhero stuff from her parents. At one point, Bruno actually moves to Wakanda. Kamala was introduced to many different well-known characters to slowly integrate her into the universe overall and create interest in her. Like before she even, people started to get to know her in her own runs. She was part of the Avengers, one of the youngest ones. Her and Peter Parker once switched bodies, and he taught her to use his web swingers and how to fly with them. Web slingers. Stupid autocorrect. She met Wolverine, and she actually thought at one point, like, maybe that's what I am. I'm a mutant. She's teamed up with Miles Morales, young Cyclops, and the Vision's daughter, Vivian, and other young superheroes, and they were in a group called Champions. Medusa once sent Lockjaw, the giant dog, to watch over Kamala. And here it is. She writes fan fiction under her pen name Sloth Baby. And what's funny is some of the stuff, like she's done fan fiction between Storm and Wolverine, and then she meets Wolverine and she tells him about it. So she has fun. She has fun with the fan fiction. So, and I haven't read any of her comics personally, but reading that, I was like, okay, I want to read that interaction between her and Wolvie talking about fan fiction. But it's funny because even though she's become a superhero, she's still a fan. Kamala actually has a darker complexion than most Pakistani people, and that's due to the fact that prior to the partition of India in 1947, her family resided in Bombay, and that was mentioned before with her great-grandmother sneaking money into those fancy bracelets that she uses for her phone. All right, you want to give us a non-comic book fun facts?
Yes. So some non-comic book fun facts. Kamala Khan was also in the cartoon Marvel Rising with America Chavez, Quake, who is from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Lockjaw, Squirrel Girl, and more. I will say that I've actually watched a couple of these episodes because my kids liked it. It's not a bad show. It's very, very kiddish. Like it's very much for kids. I'll give it to you that. And so it's not a bad show. It just don't expect adult themes with their other
it's
stuff,
not going to like turn into Clone Wars or like season 3. Yeah, we have a bunch of toys. I'm holding one now that I already took a beer picture with, but my daughter's got a couple of the toys from it, but she's never watched it. But when I heard Quake was in it, I actually was like, maybe I should watch this with the kids. But they just, I don't know. My kids don't watch anything I tell them to watch.
That's fair. My kids hit or miss as well. Gwendolyn Willow Wilson, one of her creators, was actually concerned the cartoon wasn't going to do well because of her race and religion. She said that new characters and minority characters don't do well. And then she even joked that they will need to hire someone just to open the hate mail. And it actually did much better than expected, surprisingly, which is great. President Obama once said that Miss Marvel may be your comic book creation, but I think for a lot of young boys and girls, Sana's a real superhero. So in March of 2016, during a reception for Women's History Month, Amanat, who is one of the creators. Yes, sorry. I should have clarified.
That was my fault.
Was invited to the event as an introductory speaker for President Obama. He praised the book for its positive portrayal of Muslim Americans and said that Miss Marvel served as an uplifting role model for boys and girls across the country, which is true. I'm going to get to that in a minute. So when Ayman was offered the role, I'm sorry. I am butchering names. If anybody's listening, I think it's Iman. I am so sorry. Anyways, when she was offered the role, it was via Zoom in 2020. And she said that, and she was like, Kevin Feige is on my phone right now. I cannot comprehend this. Girl, none of us would be able to. And then
there's actually a clip of it if you want to watch it. It's on Disney. If you go to like marvel.com, and there's like a little video. It's adorable.
I don't doubt it. Like all these teenagers living these dreams, man, it's great. It's feel good moments, right?
Right.
And then the last fun fact that I have is that the 19-year-old actress Iman Vellani is such a big Miss Marvel fan that at 15 she dressed up as her for Halloween. So I've already talked about that a little bit. And yeah, the show premieres June 8th on Disney. I'm excited. I know this is a different tonal shift. So we go from Multiverse of Madness, which is actually going to be premiering on Disney Plus June 22nd. I forgot to add that in there. And so that's very horror themed, to Miss Marvel, which is very much for kids. And it's great because both of us have young daughters. And not only that, like girls across, like they're going to be putting the show in theaters in Pakistan.
Aw, are they really?
They are, yeah. And so it's amazing.
Oh, that is amazing.
The cultural barriers, right? It's so easy to get caught up in all the bull crap of life. And when you have stuff like this, like she's the first Pakistani American girl to be a superhero on the big screen. Like the things that this is going to do for that culture, that group. Like it's easy for us to be like, oh yeah, sure. We see this all the time. Like me, Captain America, you got Captain Marvel. But like, we're going to go from Egyptian superheroes to Pakistani superheroes. And it's just, we're breaking down those barriers. And the way that we do that is through our art, is through our culture, is through our things like that. And so it's really cool to see that these things are happening. And I'm so excited for the show. I'm disappointed that Disney didn't give us our screeners. It is what it is.
We tried.
Eventually one day we're going to get one of those damn Marvel screeners. I'm convinced. And aside from that, I'm stoked for the show. So be sure to tune in June 8th.
I'm very stoked. What's the name of the guy who played Kingo? I can't remember. He's Pakistani.
Yes.
He's a comedian. And the only reason I was thinking is, so, he's in Obi-Wan, and he tweeted out that he had a friend when he was little that had more Star Wars toys than him. And he was like jealous, and he's like, haha, I won now. That's
funny because Zach Braff played Freck, who in the latest episode of Obi-Wan.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of is like, yeah, he's like the Empire apologist. And so my wife was actually telling me this story. Zach Braff and Donald Faison have a podcast, and Donald Faison's like a massive Star Wars fan. And Zach Braff knows like Filoni and crew. And he was always like, how come you haven't got me on there? And all this stuff. And Zach Braff doesn't even like Star Wars. And so Zach Braff was like this massive cameo. And Donald Faison, he was in Star Wars Resistance, but like that's nothing compared to something like Obi-Wan. So
yeah.
Again, it's kind of funny.
Here's the exact tweet. I'm so overwhelmed right now. My cousin had a better collection of action figures when we were kids. I was so jealous. I think I finally pulled ahead. And then it's the poster of him on the Obi-Wan Kenobi thing.
That's good.
He won this round.
Oh man, he won.
Now he's probably going to have an action figure of himself, and that doesn't get much
he
better
does.
than
He's
that.
from Eternals, but
that's true.
He's going to have a Star Wars action figure himself, I'm sure. But yeah, he was in Eternals. So
could you imagine being into that stuff as a kid? And then so many of them are part of both universes. And then you got someone like Bill Burr who's like, I don't like Star Wars.
And then he gets to do it. Man, I'm so jealous. I am.
I love Bill Burr.
I wish that I went into theater so I could just go out there and be a broke bus boy in LA to hope I get in the Star Wars production.
Nice. Well, we have some letters to the editor, but they're all Star Wars themed. We could go into them now, or we could save them for Wikipedia.
It's best to do it because Wikipedia won't be joining us until June 16th.
Okie dokie. So the only specific ones we have that weren't questions for Wikipedia. So Kevin from Hops Heroes. True or false? The Mandalorian is the best thing Star Wars has done since the original trilogy.
False.
What are you going to say, Rogue One?
Yeah. Rogue One is way better than The Mandalorian. First and foremost, since the OG trilogy, The Revenge of the Sith is my favorite Star Wars film of all time. Not to mention, we have the Clone Wars and Rebels. Those are arguably, I love The Mandalorian, but those are all better than The Mandalorian.
But the Clone Wars and Rebels is what made Revenge of the Sith good, I think.
Okay, but he says this is the best Star Wars thing since the OG trilogy, not what makes something better.
I'm going to agree with Kevin and say yes, solely because the others are dependent on each other, but Mando is good on its own.
No, they're using Mando to set up things like Ahsoka and whatnot to further to get to the sequel trilogy. They're using this to bridge the gap between the sequel trilogy, and they're building off the Clone Wars with the Bo-Katan. I
agree. But I still think if you just watched Mando by itself, it's really good. But to me, the Revenge of the Sith wasn't as good until I watched the cartoons. And the cartoons aren't as good by themselves.
I'm going to need
until you
a
watch
Twitter, Instagram poll on this one, please.
So our answer to Kevin is, we don't know. All right.
The answer is yes. So I can absolutely explain this next one.
I was going to say, this one's all you. Can you please explain how Darth Maul lost to Obi-Wan in Phantom Menace?
Yeah, absolutely.
I will say, I'm just putting my 2 cents because it's not really going to be good, and then yours is going to be good. It's kind of like when the Heat beat the Mavs in 2006, and then in 2011, when we had Bosch, LeBron, and Wade, the Mavs beat us because it was like, you defeated me before, you're going down. So Maul killed his Qui-Gon, and now you're going down. It's revenge. Okay,
I appreciate the bridge there.
Answer.
I appreciate this. It is revenge, though. What it boils down to is that Obi-Wan stood there while Qui-Gon got killed. And so
he was waiting for that door to open.
Yes, but Obi-Wan is the model Jedi, right? Yes, he is. However, Obi-Wan tapped into his anger. So he was definitely influenced by anger, which he doesn't normally do. So there's 2 times in canon kind of that we get Obi-Wan fighting using anger. Number 1 is against Anakin Skywalker. He wasn't enraged, but he was mad because his Anakin has fallen to the dark side. Now he's battling his brother. Yes. And so if you read the Star Wars novelization, which isn't canon anymore, it kind of goes in more in depth about how Obi-Wan was like full of just anger and sadness and all this stuff.
I was going to say, he seemed more sad than angry.
Well, still, he's using his emotions, and the dark side feeds off emotions, which is the Vapad is the style of fighting that Mace Windu uses. That is a dark side style, which taps into your anger, but you also balance it with the light. And so Obi-Wan was very just emotional at this point when Darth Maul just killed his master. And so he comes out there and that's how he fights him. Yeah, sure. He gets kicked off the ledge. And that's when Darth Maul is just acting like an overconfident douche, in which Obi-Wan finishes business. That's kind of how he uses the Force. He uses the inability of Darth Maul, who was overconfident and cocky at this moment because he's a Sith. That's kind of how they are. And he finishes them off. However, if you're talking about how does Darth Maul lose to Obi-Wan when it comes to Rebels, it's because Obi-Wan is very wise at this point. He's in his later years. At this point, he's been training with Qui-Gon. He's been meditating, and he's very stronger with the Force.
So and do you think Maul, the end of this show, he'll be more connected with the Force again?
So this show is going to be about him reconnecting with the Force to get us to that original trilogy Kenobi that we're used to seeing.
Everything.
Yes. And so right now at the end of episode 3, he's lost. He has lost his connection to the Force. What we're going to see the next 3 episodes, and assuming this is a 1-season one-off, we're going to see him reconnecting to the Force and getting to that Obi-Wan that we all know and love from the OT and Rebels. And so Darth Maul actually tries to use the move he killed Qui-Gon with, which is knocking Obi-Wan in the face. And Obi-Wan knows that trick. He's seen it before. So he goes to use that, and Obi-Wan just cuts him and kills him, and it's very tragic. That's kind of 2 answers to the same question. It just depends when he says in Phantom Menace. So he does specify. So in Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan is just emotional. He's using his emotions at this point, while also being able to come back to the light.
I like it.
And that's all, folks. So yeah, we had a lot to talk about. Go check out all of these things. We are blessed. I say it every week, but we are blessed as nerds. The Boys is out. Kenobi is out. Miss Marvel's about to come out. Stranger Things is out. And then next month we have Thor: Love is Thunder. August is She-Hulk and Andor. And then we're already into the fall then. So soak it in.
And then we get Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yes. My kid's already asking to watch that. I said
Apparently my son watched it at my mom's last night, which is forbidden. Well, see, look,
I guess our kids are both thinking the same because both want to watch it, but
I have strict rules about that. My husband actually bought me a tin tacker the other day with Jack and Sally, and he's like, "You're not going to hang it up till October, are you?" And I'm like, "No."
My kids put on the Grinch this morning with Jim Carrey. I'm like, "What are you doing, you filthy heathens?"
Well, that's why we celebrate Christmas in July. July 25th.
Get
I
your
let it all
minds
go.
right.
I even pull out a couple Christmas decorations, a Christmas beer. We play Christmas music that day. I pull out Christmas jammies. I'm not kidding. We go full out.
That's
Get it
fair.
out of your system that day because it's not coming out again until the day after Thanksgiving, except for Nightmare.
That's fair. And I'm going to leave you all with this. Kenobi is being review bombed on stupid Rotten Tomatoes, which nobody cares about. However, because there have been a lot of racist and sensitive tweets towards Reva, Moses Ingram's character,
who we now follow on Instagram because people are pieces of shit.
Yeah, and so the Star Wars fan base is toxic. Star Wars is my favorite property. However, just don't be racist piece of crap. Don't be that piece of crap in general. Be thankful we're getting these properties. There's no reason to be so hateful. Like, go touch some grass. Go smell the flowers. It is summertime. Go outside, take a hike, take a walk, get out of your mom's basement. Just go enjoy life. Be thankful that we're getting these Star Wars properties. You know, just be thankful.
Because I just pulled it up and it's the average tomato meter is 87%. And I think that's people who have to be approved, I'm guessing. And the average audience score is 58. There's no way in
and
hell.
It's people who started bombing it after Ewan McGregor came out and was like, you're no Star Wars fan if you're going to be this racist piece of shit. So
how do I rate it?
Just don't be a piece of crap. Don't be a dick. Be a decent human. Lift each other up. Why is
it so hard to not be a dick?
It's just, for some people, it's just hard, I guess. There's no reason to be a dick. It's a TV show. If you don't like it, don't watch it. It's as easy as that. It's a TV show. You don't like it, don't watch it. And until next week, the Hops Geek News fam, are out. Oh, just kidding. We're not. What's up?
I don't know if I mentioned my Star Wars article on here. If you're interested in Galaxy's Edge, head to hopsnews.beer. Under Hops Geek News, I wrote an article about it's some tips and some fun facts for Galaxy's Edge. So if you cannot do everything in one day, if you don't plan ahead as far as the Star Wars stuff. So I give you the tips and tricks on how to basically do it all in one day, but you got to plan ahead. And check out the article. If you have any questions about it, if you're heading there, please hit me up if you have any questions. I would love to put my knowledge of going there. And to make this article, I actually asked cast members questions because I haven't put any interest in wanting to build my own droid. So I didn't realize you needed to book that 60 days in advance. Like I have an appointment to build my own lightsaber, and I will do a future article of that. And I think we're going to team up on that. I can't wait to build
mine.
So, certain things that I'm not necessarily interested in, I still asked about. And there's a whole bunch of stuff I didn't even realize at Galaxy's Edge until this last month because I was quote unquote researching the article. By researching, I mean dragging my kids around and saying, I just got to ask this cast member one more question and then I'll buy you a Mickey bar.
That's fair.
But I put a lot of work into these articles. So I hope somebody's benefiting from them. And that's all I got.
Yeah. If you're looking for any Disney tips, go and check out Lauren's article, hopsnews.beer. She's killing it. She's doing so much. And we're going to be building our own lightsabers, her in July, me in August. And I can't wait to do that experience. Book it 60 days out, folks. Until next time, cheers.
Cheers.
This has been a Hops News production. You can find Hops News on all your favorite podcasts and social media platforms at Hops News. Cheers.